Well, disappointment in general for cricket fans because it was turning out to be a very spicy contest at the MCG. At the end, the rain gods did not relent, and it was intermittent rain that finally meant the cut-off time was reached and the match has ended up just like this. 132 for 7. Australia didn't get to face their 20th over. It was looking like a reduced run chase for India, and it started with a 19 over run chase with 137, and then it kept getting further and further reduced. What might have been is what we can analyse here on CricBuzz Live with the panel. Gentlemen, obviously Australia will be happy going to Sydney 1-0 up, but how disappointed will India be? Because is it an opportunity lost?
I see it as an opportunity lost, and in fact so far in this series the rain has come back, or rather come down twice to help the hosts. So even the rain is now playing that little role in the scheme of things. In the first game 16.1 overs, in the remaining overs you had Bumrah, you had Bhuvi, but you ended up chasing a slightly bigger total, ended up on the losing side. Here I thought India had the game under control, but then it rained again, and it just poured very heavily. And a game that India should have won, should have gone to Sydney with the series square at 1-1. It's a series that now India can't win.
To be fair, the clouds are Australian, but if you have a look at the possibilities of a shortened chase, were Australia more in the game with, say, a 76 to be chased in 9 overs, or maybe what, 50 in 5 if it was?
I think still, yeah, it gave them a better chance as well. I mean, both ways. I mean, and the rain today was like watching, listening to the rain was like watching Dilip Doshi chasing a ball to the boundary, You're just going to reach it, it just stopped, then again it starts moving. Just stop, then it starts moving, and then it gently crossed the boundary. And that's exactly what happened. Every time for the past 1.5 hours, we've been hearing, oh, it stopped now, started again, stopped now, started again. It's absolutely exasperating, and I can understand Virat Kohli if he's staring at his hair right now.
Yes, I hope Dilip Doshi he's never been known to be too tech friendly, so I hope he's not sitting on a laptop somewhere.
Somebody will tell him, surely.
But they would never say, he never chased the ball to the boundary, he gently escorted
it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
we've
had multiple rain interruptions, but obviously when you look at a game like this, irrespective of the result, India can still level the series, and they'll have to look back and take out the positives in everything they did, and certainly it was India's game for 19 overs.
That's the thing, there are lots of positives
from
18
this, overs, to be fair.
Lots of positives from this game when you look at Khalil's new ball. The biggest positive in my opinion was Virat Kohli's captaincy. The way he maneuvered his resources was the highlight of the 19 overs that India bowled. Using Khalil up top, using Bhuvneshwar Kumar only for a couple of overs, using Bumrah for the 5th and the 7th over when Glenn Maxwell was there. Very innovative field positions as well, where he had a deep mid-wicket and a deep point for Chris Lynn. So obviously they've got their homework done there. They've sorted out a potential threat using Kuldeep Yadav and Krunal Pandya to good effect. I think his captaincy is the biggest plus from this game in Melbourne.
And we could see when the teams were ready to go out, when India was ready to go out to bat, Shikhar Dhawan was walking around, feeling at home literally. Rohit Sharma was padded up, but Virat Kohli, obviously due to bat at number 3, padded up, helmet on, focused, looked like he was in it to win it.
Absolutely. I mean, today he came to the party and he would be really very disappointed because India had their, they had their foot in Australia's throat, and the weather gods gave it away. But they'll take a lot from this match. I'm not sure how much they'll take. Like Khalil, great first spell, but that third over would be a bit worrying for India, saying that if a guy comes back and goes for 20 after you've got a good start, that's what would probably disappoint them more. Sometimes it happens, you're just off and you get whacked in the beginning, then you're trying to hide him somewhere in this thing. But he had a good first 2 overs, and then somehow something happened in the third, and that would worry India as well.
Oh, that's one thing, but then you also have to bear in mind his work in progress. He's somebody who's just starting his international career. His selection itself is based on promise and potential, and not so much on performances accumulated over a number of years in first-class cricket. Kid has played only 2 first-class games. He's played only a handful of List A and T20 games at Rajasthan level. So we're talking a giant leap of not just faith, but also in terms of standard that he's facing now. First couple of games in Australia, I thought he at least did well enough to bounce back from the disappointment in Brisbane. In Melbourne, he looked better. Hopefully, we'll just get better from here as the team travels to Sydney.
And we don't see enough of that. In a sense, I know last show, in the first match, we were talking a lot about the David Warner and Steve Smith bans. But away from all that controversy, look at David Warner as an individual, very similar to what we're talking about. Virtually no first-class cricket. In fact, when he played that T20, I don't think he played any first-class games, played village-level cricket, and there he was thrown in the deep end.
No, absolutely, and they work as well. Australia backed him, and to be fair, he really gave them their money's worth, much more than their money's worth in terms of being backing. And India will be hoping the same from Khalil. I think what Virat does have is very clearly in his head. He probably doesn't write down Khalil when he writes on that list. He's probably writing left arm fast bowler. That's how he looks at it. Two leggies, left arm fast bowler, and he's got this shopping list for England 2019, and he's trying to fill up those places. Now, is Khalil's name going to be against left arm fast bowler? That's what they're trying to see, because there isn't too much more time to sort of play around. But he has very clearly, this Indian think tank is thinking positions rather than individuals.
And I think he sealed it. Personally, I think unless something drastically goes wrong, which I hope it doesn't, I think Khalil will be on that flight to England in 2019 World Cup time.
Well, perhaps if you look at the shopping list there, for now, let's just have a look. Sydney is a lovely city to go out and shop. Let's have a look at the shopping list for both teams, just for Sydney, the third T20I, because it's going to be a crucial game. Australia will want to hang on and make it 2-0. I'm not sure there's going to be that much weather around in Sydney. It generally rains in shorter spells if it does. But this is what we have in store in terms of the two lineups. Will there be any possible changes? Let's have a look at India first. Virat Kohli was very unequivocal at the toss, saying that doesn't matter if we lost, we had a decent outing in the first game, even though it didn't go our way, so I'm sticking with that combination. Does he do so for the third match?
I can't see what he can change, because he wouldn't mind an extra spinner in Sydney, but where are you going to play him when you're already playing three spinners? Kunal has to play to give the batting a chance. And you really can't drop a batsman for one on the basis of one inning. So, I mean, perforce, if you had a second game, you might have had an opportunity for change. Given these circumstances, the batting certainly can't change. The bowling, then you talk about the only change you can discuss, because as I said, the spinner slot is taken. You're talking about Khalil for, say, Umesh, and I don't see that as a possibility right now.
That's not happening. There is this huge temptation that the team is resisting, that is playing Chahal somehow. Get Chahal into the mix. First two games, Brisbane and in Melbourne, there was a lot of weather around. There was a bit more spice on the surface, so you knew that faster bowlers will get a bit more assistance. So Khalil was preferred over someone like Chahal. That could be once again a potential change. But now that Khalil has bowled well, and all said and done, even if it's Sydney and it helps spinners, it's not Rajkot or Hyderabad. It is still Sydney, and it is still in Australia. So don't be surprised if India makes no changes for the last T20I.
But I'd just like to play devil's advocate on Khalil there. Yes, full marks to him, talking about potential and promise. But if you have to really dissect his spell, you look at the couple of big overs he's had in Brisbane and in Melbourne, maybe that'll be on the back of their minds. Yes, he got those wickets to back himself up, but will they look at that extra spin option in his place then?
It's not so much to do with the number of runs that he conceded in a couple of overs in Melbourne and also in Brisbane. It's about giving him opportunities. I think that's how this team is looking at Khalil. They're not necessarily dissecting every performance that he's delivering on the field. And you can't really also be too harsh when you're playing T20 format. Team has conceded 158, 116, 17 overs in Brisbane, 130 odd in again 19 overs. That's 6.5, 7 and over every time. So there will be times that you'll be taken apart. There will be times that you'll go for a lot of runs. And we just spoke about Khalil not having a lot of first-class experience. Barely has played just one IPL game, I think, if I remember correctly. That's the only game that he's played in his limited IPL career. So you need to have a bit more patience with him. What's not working in his case, just small little thing, is Chahal sitting outside. It's not so much about Umesh Yadav getting back into the mix. I don't think that it's a like-for-like replacement, because, as Joy mentioned, left-arm fast bowler. That's what he wants. Left is right when it comes to T20 cricket. And it's not just T20 cricket with Khalil. It's the eye on the World Cup. So you're looking at 50-over format also while picking the side for a T20 event. So Khalil, I'll be a bit more patient. If they are actually very brave, I don't think that's a possibility. Though, considering how things are, play Chahal in place of Krunal if you can. But that actually shortens your batting lineup a little bit.
And overall in the squad, we briefly mentioned it a couple of days ago, Shreyas Iyer will have seen all the sights of Australia possible. Lovely tour of Brisbane, great tour of Melbourne, lovely tour of Sydney. Come back home with lots to talk about of the sights and sounds of Australia.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think at least nowadays, the extra cricketers out there do stuff. There were times where, I know one famous wicketkeeper who famously came in for Kirmani for a while. And he immediately was put into test cricket and he was found wanting. And he said that, if I hadn't been picked for the test match, I would have gone on 4 more foreign tours instead,
No, but it's not just Iyer, it's also Manish Pandey.
Washington Sundar.
Washington Sundar. These guys have not played a game, and once again, like irony is hitting us on our faces that these guys are there for 5 days, 3 T20Is. They'll all be flying back home. Or maybe a couple of them may just go to New Zealand and practice a bit more with the India A side. Otherwise, they will be flying back in January for 3 ODIs, out of which they may or may not play all 3 anyway. So it's quite baffling. This itinerary is just not cutting it for me. You got to just put the limited overs cricket together and play test cricket as a chunk. The way it's been slotted right now, it's not doing any good service to any of the single format or white ball players.
I think it's just doing only people it's wanting to do justice to.
The airlines? Fly them
Good
back
point,
home,
fair
go
point.
back again, miles and all
I
of that.
think it's a broadcaster. Basically, the two things that rate a lot is basically you have the T20s that will rate, the one days that will rate. While the test cricket is going on, don't forget they'll have the Big Bash on as well. So that's basically saying, okay, I've got a summer of cricket on, and they're very anxious to see that the Big Bash cricket does not interfere with any of these two forms of the game. So they are doing that very deliberately.
Interestingly, they've got different broadcasters for BBL. and
But Cricket Australia is benefiting from the whole
That is true.
full season of cricket.
Yeah, the old adage there, cricket is the winner.
No, I've never heard that before. I've never heard that before.
Come on, this didn't even go down the wire.
Flew
No.
past me like a tracer bullet
tracer
tonight.
bullet, yeah.
Right? Just-
I've never heard these.
We don't believe in cliches, do we?
No,
Absolutely.
Passe.
How do you even spell cliche? But anyway, talking about Australia, they too might have a few points to ponder. They had an enforced change in the second match because just moments before the toss, in fact, almost as Aaron Finch was walking out to join Shane Warne at the toss, he saw the size 14 boots of Billy Stanlake being strapped up, a last-minute injury, which meant that Nathan Coulter-Nile came in. It ended up being a fairly decent change because at least with the bat, Coulter-Nile fared well and looked like he had the potential to do something with the ball. For Australia, they've got Ashton Agar as a possible extra spinner. Nobody else really looks like.
You could see Ashton Agar, and in Sydney especially, you could see him. But the other thing is that they will be looking at their batting and saying that a lot of these guys haven't got going the second. At least whatever it is, couple of them got a good first knock in this thing in Brisbane. But Sydney has not been a great outing for anyone out there. And if there's been interesting this thing, it's Ben McDermott down the order showing there that what you can do and where 150 was very reachable had they played more sensibly.
But
Darcy shot, I think that's what they're thinking. Can we do something about him? Unfortunately, they don't have the.
Rajasthan couldn't do anything about him either. Don't worry.
They've released him, so eventually they could do something about it because poor guy is not getting runs, and if he's not getting runs, just that the formation of the squad is such that you don't even have a replacement for him. Ashton Agar may come in, but he can't just start opening in place of Darcy.
Though he has batted up the order in various forms of the game.
He has, but like T20 cricket against India, Bhuvneshwar and Bumrah may not actually fancy his chances too much. But then I think one last hurrah for Darcy shot for the time being. Otherwise, he's not going to be there for the
One more chance for you to think up 2 more bad puns for match 3.
I tell you.
Correct. I'll work harder.
But from Australia's point of view, we talked about the lessons from India who have actually improved in those 2 games. Australia, actually their batting has gone downhill. They didn't do too badly in the first game. They played safety first, where they should have done so in Melbourne, but they didn't. So they'll need to take those lessons into Sydney.
See, again, these lessons, you don't take these lessons per se as a team because it's just back to back. They're alternate days you're playing matches. So team diktat is one thing. Individually, everybody has to look inwards and say, oh, did I do something wrong there? And Chris Lynn with a fielder in the deep, with a ploy of bowling wider to him, slower deliveries wide with a deep mid wicket and a deep point, was that shot on Marcus Stoinis coming in, 7th over, Bumrah bowling, again a deep point station and still a short ball outside off. So you're not compelled, obviously it's not an obligation to hit that shot. And while hitting that shot, you know that you're not going to clear the fence. Your name is Stoinis and not Sehwag. And these are fairly big boundaries. Got caught in the deep. Nathan Coulter-Nile did the similar thing. So just a bit more selective with the shot selection. I think that's what we'll find in Sydney as well. They will take some heart from what happened in Brisbane, but then that's the nature of the beast, T20 cricket. You fail more often than you actually succeed. So I don't think anybody's losing sleep over what has happened in Melbourne. Most people have played enough T20 to understand that these things do happen. You at times you start punching above your weight, at times you get too ahead of yourself, and at times you just are not that prudent in the shot selection. That may all change in the decider.
Right. Well, the Indians weren't stumped as far as their batting was concerned, but I might have got through Ronaldinho, but I have absolutely no clue as far as today's joy factor. So can you please enlighten us?
I think today's, let's have a look at the question again. So what specifically connects Glenn Maxwell, Mohammad Hafiz, Danny Morrison and obviously Virendra Sehwag is the person we are referring to. The list is not exhaustive and they have all opened the batting and bowling in the same test match. Sehwag was the first Sehwag was not the first Indian to do it, he's actually the last Indian to do it. That's a typo on my behalf, he's the last Indian to do it, but Prabhakar obviously did it for a long time for India. Hafiz does it all the time for Pakistan, and very surprisingly I think
Jack Leach did it very recently.
Jack Leach did it very recently
Though
as a night watchman opener.
To be fair, night watchman opener, he's not, he's a specialized number 10. And they had a couple of overs to bat with fading light in Sri Lanka, and they just sent him out to.
Exactly.
So what did the poor other opener do?
That's the point.
Yeah,
That's like why do you get a night watchman for one opener and not for the other opener?
No, because it's 1 over and he's batting at one end. So you get out, I'll put in a proper batsman.
So Rory Burns went to the non-strikers and Keaton Jennings was told you can put your feet up, and Jack Leach was just told block 6 balls. He did exactly that.
Fantastic, good man.
I mean, people who used to open the batting and bowling in our locality matches are the guys who owned the bat and the ball.
Correct.
But you know, this is slightly different.
And then I'm not sure he's necessarily again at first choice as an opening bowler. A, it was the spin, and B, I think someone must have told him that this is a good record to be part of, a good list to be part of. So come on, we'll give you an over here. We've got Jimmy Anderson, we've got Sam Curran, we've got lots of options. Hang on.
Come on.
Jimmy won't mind.
That's true.
Jimmy won't mind. That song sounds like the title of a Beatles song.
Yeah.
Jimmy won't mind.
Final thoughts, gentlemen. Going forward to Sydney, India certainly will have, in a sense, the momentum.
Do we have a winner?
Oh yes, the winner.
Do we have a winner?
Yes, let's actually talk. I'm glad you brought that up right on time. We don't have a winner in the series yet, but we do have a winner on the joy factor.
Kaustav Pathak.
He was the winner last time around as well.
Yeah, I think
He's
he's
too
creaming
bright.
it. I think he's creaming the series.
Joy, is he related to you?
No, Pathak, no.
I don't know, there's a possibility, you never know. Wife side.
Wife side, no, whichever side.
Whichever side.
Whichever side, no.
Because 2 and 2 he's got it right. The Pathak is too smart.
Look, face it.
That
These
was
guys
like
are
a
just
Chris
brighter
Lynn
than
shot.
us.
It was just hit blindly. You had no idea where you were coming from on that one.
It's unbelievable. Anyhow.
Goodness.
So I'm actually backing India to now go ahead in Sydney and level the series. In any case, it seems it's home away from home. That's what we saw in Melbourne. It felt as if the game was happening at the Wankhede Stadium.
Yeah, and Sydney is also full of the expat population. The Indians will come out and paint it blue.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that Washington Sundar and Pandey get some good shopping in. It's important.
You're forgetting about Iyer.
Yes, of course.
Yes, absolutely. But they've done good duty on the sidelines, as have the
you can't
ground
blame
staff,
them.
all in vain today at the MCG. Thank you, Joy. Thank you to Akash. And that's all we have on Crickbuzz Live here. We, of course, will be back at the same time to try and see if India can make it 1-1. This is the very start of a long summer down under. 3 T20s, 4 test matches, 3 one-day internationals. But this is still the very start. It's 1-0 to Australia. All to play for in Sydney. We'll see you at 10 to 1 in the afternoon right here on Crickbuzz Live.